Buongiorno, my name is Teresa de Fazio and I'm from Victoria University in Australia, and I am on Wurundjeri land and it is of the Kulin Nation, and I acknowledge the first peoples of this beautiful land and pay my respects to elders past and present. I'm very happy to be joining you, even if not in person. I would have loved to have obviously been in Milan, but congratulations to all the people who have still pulled through and got it together. Yeah, incredible organization to get the conference happening. I'll launch straight into the presentation that I have. It's around using an appreciative model of intercultural model of leadership to co-create and implement a university-wide cultural diversity strategy. And it is around, based on the world of education, but it is about rolling out a diversity and inclusion or a cultural diversity strategy, and hopefully the learnings are transferable to a number of settings. Just to give you a background though, the context of the university where this work has taken place is multicultural. You can see there just some statistics. We have and consistently have around half of our student population coming from non-English speaking backgrounds. That means, you know, they're bilingual, they speak a number of languages, normally of migrant background. We're situated in a low socioeconomic area of Melbourne, though we do have a city campus, and you can see the beautiful picture there. We are situated in an area where there has been historically migrant and asylum seeker refugee settlement. So live and breathe, whoops, live and breathe diversity as we go along. And there's the Indigenous flag. We have an Indigenous unit with us as well. So in terms of our students, low socioeconomic status, first in family, working class, strong representation, as I said, of migrant students and asylum seeker refugee students. We have international students and all the intersectionality in terms of diversity. We have a strong moral purpose, and it is about uplifting opportunities for all students from any background and uplifting the communities in which we operate. We have almost 200 staff, and also they are reflect this moral purpose, and they are of a culturally diverse background as well. So in terms of cultural diversity, when 2 and a bit years ago, I was asked to look at rolling out this strategy. There was a lot there to work with, but it's a complex. Universities are a complex and very large organization. So in a sense, by introducing, you know, just over 2 years ago, a cultural diversity strategy, flagged a need for change to reflect the university makeup, which is culturally diverse, and societal needs and expectations of an educational institution like a university. Knowing that universities as a place of education provide citizens, provide leadership, provide graduates that are ready to take on and take on the next steps and lead through their professions. So just to also to contextualize that meaningful work around inclusion involves systemic and individual change. It requires a change mechanism that retains the dignity of the person and organization, but it also challenges attitudes and behaviors. It needs to challenge them. It needs to still undertake change. So how that is done, but still bringing everybody on board with you, is a huge undertaking. We know that change is evidenced through policies and practices and processes, but also in protocols, and also in the openness of an organization to question in order to innovate. If an organization does not want to question, if an organization wants to stand firm, then it's not ready to change. It's not mature enough to change the situation. The ground is not fertile enough. So in order to take on this task of change, I looked at a model of appreciative leadership, which is based on appreciative inquiry. And there's a model here which it was particularly I suppose, particularly interesting in that it provides the power and impact that one needs because it works with strengths. So it has a number of stages here. One, knowing what you're going to work on, the topic, discovering what's working already. Now, as I said, through the setting, there was a lot of the setting itself was multicultural, but there were things that needed to come together to be able to say, yes, it is a culturally diverse university, not just in figures, but in work culture and the way it prepares its students for the future as intercultural graduates with all the skill set that they need, and that the staff understand how to respond in order to cultivate and model an intercultural mindset. So the second part was to discover what was already working, but then to align it to a dream. What is the overall vision? What is a culturally diverse, inclusive, intercultural university? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it mean to the people who take some part in it? The staff in their various roles, the students, the community that comes in, the alumni, who come back to it, etc. So what then are our options in making such an inclusive, culturally diverse and multicultural university happen? How do we design it, and how do then we deliver? So this is a model, and this is what really started to shape the work that moved through. So looking at building the culture, we looked at an ecosystem. And the idea is, well, okay, what is in the ecosystem? And I've already explained there's, multiculturalism certainly was there on paper with the student and staff backgrounds. There was certainly a lot of work that was happening, and in terms of, if I look over here, I'll just explain that there were some really interesting pockets of research around interculturalism and how that influenced, for example, in our nursing courses, in our health sciences, etc. So there was some pockets of engagement. There were active silos or groups. There was community engagement. And people were willing to be part of the solution, in a sense. We're part of moving forward. Lots of passion, lots of integrity, and student voices and staff voices being represented and wanting to be represented. In a sense, it was important to also organize an economic argument, because when we do launch inclusive strategies, they do need to be based on an economic argument, especially for some areas of the university, in order to have that investment. So we know, though, that investment pays off at this point when we look at developing effective work cultures. We know we have productive work cultures when these cultures are based around people, when people who come to the workplace or to the study place, there is a strong sense of connection and belonging. Therefore, there's having a sense of place and purpose provides an optimum opportunity for productivity, for and for a quality academic experience. So lots of tools there, and certainly as an educational institution, thinking critically and working strategically should not be too difficult for anyone in there, because that's what we do. So we had a dream, and the dream, we decided it was a matter of crafting and articulating this dream with people. And this is what we came up with: to be distinguished nationally and internationally as an interculturally engaged, educationally responsive and globally connected university. So we looked at an appreciative leadership model, and we looked at what was communal. What did we have? So we needed a communal vision. We looked at our skills. We know that we've got talents. What are these? What's the knowledge that we can tap into? And what's the potential? Where are we going? And through this vision and through a communal, collective, collaborative conversation, we were able to develop a strategy that reflects a sort of a collective vision. An overlay of that is a sense of interculturality, and that is based on the appreciation of each individual's complex and rich identity, and it values multiple perspectives and experiences. This was really important. An appreciative leadership model is not enough when we're looking at diversity and inclusion. If we're looking at harnessing that diversity and really engaging with inclusion, then we really do need to be able to provide that voice and that dignity around each individual that is part of the process. So that plurality was really important, to be able to leverage the plurality to be able to then communicate and motivate others, and to ensure respect and open-mindedness. That was really, it's been really, really important to the whole process. As a result, we've ended up with cultural diversity principles that people are proud of, that have been developed with groups around the university, and it's no mean feat, it's a big university. And we have goals, and as you can see, they're goals that relate to every area of the university: the way students engage with it, the research, the staff, and the community and industry. So clarity around all of this is really important. The outcomes have been that we have reference group and working groups work on particular aspects. So there is a collaborative voice and a collaborative bringing together of expertise and perspectives to reflect the inclusion and undertake the work that needs to be done. We have a lot of expertise, you know, in terms of the research and the teaching, behind the statistics of, you know, who we have, 200 staff and, you know, a number of students. But it was important then to gather the stories and in terms of allowing voices to be heard. So storytelling being very important. We have a project that where we collect the stories of our staff and students and our alumni, and we use those to ensure that we understand and we connect with the human level of who we are and what we stand for. We have a student network to ensure that the student cultural diversity student network, the students also have a voice and have a place at the table, and they are there at all our meetings with staff, and the students are mentored and guided along and encouraged to to in their ideas of things that can happen on campus and off in the community. So there's a lot of really good reciprocal work with students. We have a program where we have identified cultural diversity champions. They've been nominated in the various areas of the organisation, and they work locally, which is a nice way of ensuring that you've got that inclusive approach being undertaken and represented in those areas, and the conversation flows from the Cultural Diversity Office into the various areas of the university and back again. And that's really important. That's part of the dialogue, but we also have informal and formal dialogue opportunities through forums and seminars where we bring experts in, and we have a very vibrant sort of conversation series, and a number of them are actually up on our website, and you're very welcome to access those. We have a number of events. Some are celebratory and some are more formal, academic, scholastic, cultural. And as you can see, we have our sort of what we call a lockup there. You know, it is about enriching understandings, it is about connecting people, and it is about celebrating. And certainly in terms of enriching, we do have a lot of expertise in terms of our researchers and our teachers and our various staff. So going back to that model design, we framed the vision. Just in summary, we articulated the organisational community voice and strengths, and we ended up with an implementation plan with a whole lot of deliverables, which is a 3-year plan to give us an opportunity to roll it out, and a lot of people then take up the opportunity and responsibility for delivering on the implementation plan while the Cultural Diversity Office oversees that work. We create partners and look at the positions of these partners, you know, and bring them on board, you know, have a cross-section of representation on reference groups and steering groups. We have critical friends in various places and outside of the university and industry and community. So we have people who bring in expertise, people who bring in experience, and people who just bring in their heart. And you know, this is the language that you can use when you're talking about inclusion. And this brings us to step 4. It is about the language. It is about validating people's sense of belonging and who they are and what they bring to the organisation. There is a step 5, which is about tooling up. You know, what are the interventions? So one of the things that has been terrific is that people start questioning what does cultural diversity mean? What does multiculturalism mean? What does inclusivity mean? What does global citizenship mean for our students who are going to graduate? These are questions that have arisen and then have provided the opportunity through an appreciation of what we have and where we need to go. So we've been able to have intercultural training of various types. We've been able to develop dialogues on certain themes. We've been able to come together and celebrate what we have. And we've been able to gather some funding to be able to do this as well, which is always really important. Of course, you cannot have change without rewarding and acknowledging the steps along the way and the people who are integral to that change. And that helps build power, impact, and voice by increasing those that are engaged. And it has been, you know, 2 and a little bit years, nearly 2.5 years, I suppose, of this work. And it has been wonderful to see how many people and who actually comes and knocks on your door and says, I want to be part of this vision and I want to be part of this work. It is cyclical. As we investigate, as we ask questions, as we review, as we put things in place, we reshape things, we question, we come up with more opportunities and more answers. So we deliver, but then we keep going around again. So we find that this model it works extremely well for us in terms of appreciative inquiry, with an overlay of intercultural leadership, because that's quite important and integral to the work that's being done. Lessons learned from this model in developing this strategy. We have come to understand that appreciative inquiry is very powerful because it is participative and it is for all, and this type of strategy needs to be for all. It is confronting in some ways and throws up other issues and questions or opportunities for appreciation. The more that it is participatory, the more it is a little bit at risk of being pulled in different directions. So sometimes people want things from the strategy which are cause a few tensions with other areas of the strategy, and it can mean that you lose focus or time, etc. But that's okay. That, you know, we work with that, but having people, a group of people, and a large group of people involved in it, it means that the many voices tend to work to pull things in and to make things work. But the wonderful thing is that it also becomes very creative. The initiatives that come out of it, the stories, the sense of belonging, and the increasing sense of connection with the workplace has been quite marvelous to watch. We do understand that it requires time. Change requires time. Inclusion and diversity is not easy, not when it's done well. It requires time, it requires resources. I should put down, it requires patience and requires engagement. But the changes stick. So the investment is worth it, because what happens is that people are invested in those changes. They're part of the changes. They appreciate the changes, and they develop with the changes. So it does engage hearts and minds. And I'll just show you this. I hope that it comes. Yes, here we go. This is what it means at Victoria University, our students and our staff coming together. So I'll just take that one down and go back to our slides on lessons learned. You've seen here a snippet. opportunities for people to tell their stories, opportunities for people to come together, and it really creates a wonderful environment which has its own rewards, and I'm happy to discuss that more with you. Thank you very much. I look forward to the presentation.